On this week's dose, we have Meredith Perry, co-founder and CEO of Elemind, the startup that helps people fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer through their breakthrough wearable device. To start, we hear about the journey that led Meredith to team up alongside her other co-founders to start working on Elemind several years ago. From there, we dive deeper into the product itself, how the team at Elemind developed it, and how it works to safely augment and improve sleep tailored to your unique brain and brain activity in real time. Next, Meredith tells us a little more about their cap table and what she looks for in ideal investors. Of note, Elemind's beta program is still open for a couple of weeks, so head to elemindtech.com to join and get access to this sleep-changing technology. And lastly, to wrap up this week's dose, stick around to hear about what the future holds for Elemind, as well as some valuable advice for all the Pillgrims from Meredith. It was a pleasure hosting Meredith on this week's show, and we are thrilled to share the conversation with you all. Without further ado, let's get into the interview.
You see here, kid? You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump.
This is Venture Pill, your weekly dose of startups and venture capital. We break down recent startups in the news and interview founders and investors to help you stay informed in the evolving world of venture. All right, on this week's dose, we welcome Meredith Perry, co-founder and CEO of Elemind, the startup that helps people fall asleep faster through their breakthrough wearable device. Meredith, thanks for coming on. How's it going?
Hey, Brandon. Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Of course. Appreciate you taking the time. Let's jump right into it. Starting off with, would love to hear a little bit more about the journey that led you to Elemind, and then more specifically, what it is you and the team are working on at Elemind.
Yeah. So maybe I'll share just a little bit about what Elemind is to give people context for how I got there. So we've developed wearable neurotechnology that can read the brain in real time, intercept it in real time, and then effectively guide the brain to a different state, if you will, like a drug, but without chemicals and without side effects. And so we call this electric medicine. And we've shown over the years that we can do a lot of different things with this technology, which we can talk about in a second. But how did we get there? So my story of how I got here is a little bit different from my co-founders, who are neuroscientists and engineers and things like that. David, my co-founder and CTO, along with Dr. Ed Boyden, who's a neuroscience professor at MIT, and Dr. Nir Grossman, who was a postdoc at MIT at the time, who's now on the faculty of Imperial College London. They were working together to figure out a way to suppress tremor for people with essential tremor using stimulation. So when we say stimulation, that can be anything that stimulates the brain. So that could be sensory stimulation, which is sound, light, vibration, or it could be electrical stimulation or magnetic stimulation. So they wanted to figure out a way, how can we measure the physical tremor of somebody and effectively cancel that out using stimulation? So that's how they got into this world. And then I independently was thinking about, how do we mimic the effect of a pharmaceutical using non-invasive stimulation? How can we change the brain physically in a way that a chemical does it chemically? And, I had personally started looking into different ways that neurostimulation could change the brain. And I contacted my friend, who's now my co-founder, Dr. Ed Boyden. And I was asking him, like, hey, should I buy, this electrical stimulator to do some tests on myself? He was like, no, don't do that, but come to MIT. And that was about 5 years ago. And the rest is history. And we joined forces and have developed a really interesting platform that I think marries our vision around developing a new kind of technology that can achieve the same benefits as pharmaceuticals, but without a drug and without side effects. And when you have a device that can do just that with sensors that can read what's happening in the body, you can actually see whether or not it's working in real time. And that's super cool. You can't do that if you just take a drug. And when you can see that it's working in real time, you can also see if it's not working. And if it's not working, that's when things are even more interesting, which is, being able to change the drug itself or the dose until you achieve the desired outcome for the individual. And so that's this whole concept of electric medicine.
That's incredibly fascinating, and love the term electric medicine. Kind of touched on it there, but certainly with something like this, safety comes into mind with this type of technology. How does Elemind ensure that people are safe when using the product?
Yeah. So Elemind is incredibly safe. It's safe inherently. I can show you the product and show you what I mean. So the way that we read the brain is through EEG, these little sensors on the inside of the headband. This is actually the product. And you can think about an EEG kind of like a thermometer. So unlike other medical imaging technologies such as MRI or X-ray or CT scan, EEG recordings are passive in the sense that they just detect the electrical activity generated by your brain. It's not emitting any energy itself. And so in a similar sense, this is similar to how a thermometer will passively detect the heat generated by your body. The way that we stimulate is literally just with sound. So the stimulation mechanism for our first product just uses this bone conductor here in the center, which plays sound. So it's literally just sound pulses played at very specific frequencies or times within the brainwave, which can allow us to change the brainwave themselves or guide the brain to potentially a different state. We have tested this technology over 897 nights of sleep and 96 naps over the course of 5 years across a variety of different applications, but also that's specifically those numbers are around sleep. And we have seen no negative side effects whatsoever across any subjects. And that's available. If you read any of our clinical trials, you can see that information there as well. So this is a very, very safe technology. It's not only tested as safe, but even in theory, it's safe as well. It's literally just sound waves. So you can think about this almost like a programmed lullaby. I guess it would make sense if we talked a little bit about what we're doing in sleep, since we've just been talking about how to guide the brain acoustically.
Yeah, please.
So our first application is around sleep. So we've developed this headband that you can see that goes around your head like this. And what it does is it stimulates the brain with sound to help people fall asleep significantly faster or go back to sleep significantly faster if you wake up in the middle of the night before you're ready to actually wake up for the day. We're also going to be releasing a feature a little bit later down the road that actually detects when you're in deep sleep overnight, and then will stimulate at a specific point in time relative to the slow waves of deep sleep to elongate the amount of time spent in deep sleep, which is associated with better sleep quality. So while Elemind is capable of doing a number of different things, from an application standpoint, our Tesla Roadster, if you will, is this sleep headband that will help people hopefully get the best night of sleep of their life every night.
I love that. That's a good rally call to get behind. And I appreciate you giving us the behind the scenes glimpse, definitely for all of our listeners watching on YouTube or on video. Great to see the actual product. And it's got a little bit of a fashion sense to it too, which I like. It looks comfortable as well.
It is.
Moving on. So neurotechnology is a quickly emerging and ever evolving space. Sam and I have covered it at length over the course of Venture Pill, and specifically for Sam and I, it's been with BCIs, which I know is not exactly the same here, but just curious, what's the competition like out there? And if there is much competition, how do you go about differentiating yourselves?
Yeah. So with respect to sleep, there's a couple different companies that are trying to make an impact in this space. We're the only company that uses sound to modulate brainwaves and get you to sleep faster. And we think that is a major differentiator. There's only one other company that's using stimulation to help people fall asleep, and they're using electrical stimulation. While our IP actually covers any type of stimulation, we strongly believe that consumers are not going to be interested in putting electricity on their brain every single night to try to go to bed faster. There's also some potential negative side effects that can go along with electrical stimulation, which is that you can potentially burn your scalp, and also it can create a tingling sensation against your skin. So we thought that, while electrical stimulation might work well, the potential risk of it and also the potential consumer perception of electrical stimulation was not going to be positive. And acoustic stimulation, we find, works incredibly well. And so we might as well go with a lighter form of stimulation that people are comfortable with, that we know is safe, that is not going to have any kind of side effects. And what we see in our studies, in our clinical study, we showed that Elemind's acoustic stimulation is effective at accelerating sleep onset, which means helping people fall asleep faster for 76% of people. And for that 76% of people, literally just with sound waves, we showed that we, on average, can reduce the amount of time that it takes for them to fall asleep by 48%. And our best responders fell asleep up to 74% faster. And
Wow.
from my understanding, that is the best performing sleep accelerant on the market and also the safest.
Those are really impressive numbers for somebody like myself who doesn't necessarily get enough sleep on a nightly basis. If I wanted to buy this product, could I go onto the website right now, or is it like a wait list beta mode? What's the best way for myself and potential listeners to get their hands on it?
Great question. Yeah, so we are doing pre-sales right now for our beta program. You can go to elemindtech.com and pre-order the product. We're going to be shipping by the end of summer, and anyone who buys now will be included into our beta program. So what does that mean? It means that, you're going to be the first person to test all of Elemind's features, and you're going to be the first people to give us feedback on everything that you like about our app. We have a paired app that goes with the headband, and you're also going to be able to see all these features before everybody else. And all beta members get access to what we call the Elemind membership free for 1 year, which will otherwise cost around $6.99 per month or $12.99 per month if you pay monthly versus the annual model, which is 50% cheaper than what I mentioned first. And with that, you get access to all of your sleep data. You get access to all interesting stimulation protocol features that we release. If you don't get the subscription, that's okay too. The headband will still work. You just won't be able to access any of your data or the new stimulation features.
Got it. Okay, so elemindtech.com, we'll be sure to link that into the show notes. And actually, speaking of the website, while poking around, I saw that there was some AI features that are maybe on, coming out soon. Could you elaborate more, if you're allowed to share more about that?
Yeah, no, we've got a very, very, very cool feature coming out. Also will be part of the Elemind membership called the AI Sleep Tailor. And what this does is it actually learns your behavior over time, and based on both your subjective experience of your sleep and also our objective measurements of your sleep, determines the best stimulation protocol for you on a given day. So what that means is on a day that you, Brandon, might have a drink, or you might get in a fight with somebody, or you might be stressed out, or you might actually be like super relaxed, your brain might show up differently that day. And we will test and learn over time which stimulation parameters we should be tweaking for you to have the best night of sleep on the days that you go for a run or on the day that you are stressed out. And we can collect all of that information either from Apple Health or Google Health or from what you actually share with us. And then we will look objectively to see what the objective sleep metrics say are the best, given what we see in the data. And then also we'll ask you the next morning, like, how did you feel last night? How was that for you? So that's the AI Sleep Tailor. And we're really excited about that to come out.
So it's like a constantly evolving and improving AI sleep monitor. That's awesome. I love that use case for AI. Moving forward a little bit here. First of all, congratulations on the recent $12 million seed round that y'all closed. And want to talk about that a little bit more. The round included impressive investors like Village Global, which is backed by Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, amongst others. Curious to hear a little bit more about what you were looking for in the ideal partners for this seed round.
Yeah, that's also a great question. So first and foremost, we wanted investors that could really get in the trenches with us and help us navigate different aspects of this company. This is a unique company in that we're kind of in the medical space. We're kind of in the consumer space. We're kind of in the wellness space. We're in the hardware space. There's a lot of different unique territories that we're kind of merging with this product. And we wanted a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different expertise. So with like the family fund, we get the consumer expertise. These guys are like D2C experts, but they themselves, the partners at the firm, were entrepreneurs. And that's actually a common theme that you might see across most of the VCs that we have and most of the angels that we have. We've got like the founder of the Nest thermostat. We have the founder of Skype. We have the founder of Boston Scientific. We have founders who have literally run their own companies before, who have done this before in all of their domains and are experts at their domains. And we tap their knowledge at every decision point or turning point for Elemind. And that's been incredibly helpful. So we work with nice people. We work with smart people. We work with founders who have actually been there before, and then experts in the different categories that we're moving in.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of diverse experience across the cap table, which I imagine is extremely helpful to tap into for Elemind. Looking forward a little bit, what do you think the future holds for Elemind? What do the next 5 years look like, and what are some of the goals that the team has?
So, when we think about Elemind's vision, it goes far beyond sleep, and it even goes far beyond treating different indications. We envision a future where wearable neurotech is continuously monitoring your biology and your brain, and could, with sensors, and this is actually not like that far off. It's just, we don't have necessarily the time to ship it first. But, you can envision where when you've got sensors on a device that's continuously monitoring what's happening, and you've got high computation power inside the device itself that's connected to the internet and things like that, you will be able to diagnose and detect when things go awry. And when you can detect that things go awry, and you also have the ability to potentially treat those issues, or maybe not even treating just issues themselves, but just driving you into a more optimal state that you want to be in. You want to feel even better, using AI, using machine learning, and using some of the basic science that we've developed, and even just the studies that we've done. In theory, we could potentially help drive your brain into an optimal state no matter what. So say we detect that you have, condition X, then we're going to start stimulating the brain to drive the brain into a more optimal state from condition X without you needing even to articulate that you want to be there. So that's wow. Sort of the grand vision for Elemind is almost being like a smarter secondary autonomic nervous system for people that can make them the most optimized versions of themselves without chemicals and without compromise.
That is an awesome and ambitious vision for Elemind, but I'm sure you and the team are up for it. It's super exciting and excited to see what the future holds. As we move towards wrapping up here, just have a couple more questions, maybe let our listeners get to know you a little bit better. First of all, curious to hear if you have any books, podcasts, other general business resources that you found helpful that you might think be worth sharing to others.
Sure. This is an oldie, but a goodie. But The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz is still like the Bible for entrepreneurs in hard times. It's incredibly useful to be able to read about others going through hard times, because that's not typically what people talk about publicly. You talk about the big wins, and you don't talk about, the nights that you're sweating about needing to make an important decision the next day. So that's a really good book. I recommend it. I've read it multiple times now and go back to it at different points in my career. And then the other thing is having a really great advisor. I don't recommend bringing on advisors just for their names, to put on your website. I don't think that actually does much for people. Choose people that you can actually work with. I work a lot with the advisors at our company, and they're incredibly useful. I think through most of my big decisions with the advisors that we have at the company. They help me negotiate different deals. They introduce me to lots of different people. And it's an incredible asset that usually just costs equity and has been worth its weight in gold for me.
Yeah, and that actually segues perfectly to our next question. You might have just gotten 2 questions with one answer, but curious to hear if you have any advice to offer to any of our Pillgrims, which is what we call our listeners, that may be looking to start their own business or just trying to get involved in the world of venture capital.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a cliche, but, most cliches are cliche for a reason.
Right.
Are often true. But the people are everything. It doesn't matter how great of an idea you have. If you don't have an incredibly loyal, thoughtful, problem solver mentality group of people around you that can help you, that can help guide your team to success, it's incredibly difficult to succeed. Everything is going against you when you're running a startup. And so you have to be in the trenches with people who are like-minded, who have a lot of energy, that are down to get their hands dirty and, not work 9-to-5 jobs and problem solve your way out of the inevitable shit that you will go through on a daily basis, not just a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. But yeah.
Yeah, well said. That echoes what a lot of other founders that we've interviewed have said as well, and it makes perfect sense. People in the trenches with you when shit inevitably hits the fan and unforeseen challenges arise. So appreciate you further confirming how important that is. And so before I let you go, Meredith, just want to give you an opportunity to plug yourself and Elemind. What's the best place for our followers to follow along with all the exciting new developments with Elemind and also you personally?
We encourage everybody to go to elemindtech.com. That's ELEMIND tech.com. If you're interested in your sleep, if you're interested in improving your next day performance in general, even if you don't have trouble with sleep, we definitely would love for you to try out our product and be part of the beta program. So check that out there. If you're just interested in our research, you can check out our Learn page where we have all of our clinical studies published and ready for you to access there. And if you're interested in getting in touch with anyone at the company, you can email info@elemindtech.com. That's just info at elemindtech.com. And thanks for your interest.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Meredith. I'll speak for myself. Sleep tech is one of the most interesting sectors in venture capital. So it's been just awesome to hear from someone on the forefront, cutting edge of innovation like yourself. Appreciate you taking the time. And again, excited to see what the future holds for Elemind.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another dose of startups and venture capital. And as always, we appreciate our pilgrims spreading the word about the show. Share with your friends and help someone else make the pilgrimage. See you next time.
She told me that she only bumps my music when she's lonely. Thinks my vibe's a little low-key, okie dokie. That's alright, but wait, I don't know how to do things different.